I wasn't planning on making this video today, but I figured it was an important topic to teach. And you're joining me back out here in the old setup, the original setup. If you've been watching me for any amount of time, you know this is the original place where I used to make my videos. Now I do it usually indoors just because I can record any weather, whenever. But it's a nice day out, so I'm here. You read the title. I want you to fail. I want you to fail. Not out of I'm a horrible person, not out of me being rude to you. I want you to fail. Because failure, I know it sounds cliche or cheesy, right, but failure is the greatest teacher. Because in one of my older videos, I talked about how if you can learn a lesson from your failures, it's not a failure. I want you to fail so you can learn lessons. I want you to fail. Think about Batman, okay? Batman, before he was Batman, he was just Bruce Wayne. And then his parents died. And from his parents' death, this horrible tragedy, he became the man who he became in the comics of Batman. If that never happened, he would have just stayed the spoiled rich kid his whole life. Now, obviously, I don't want your parents to die. I don't want your parents to die. I would never wish that upon anybody. But what I'm telling you is that I want you to go through hardships. I want you to mess up. I mess up all the time. I fail. But as long as you can get back up and rise from your failures and rise from your defeat and rise from the ashes, from the fire of your failure, as long as you can rise back up, you can become a stronger and better person. Then the failure was not only worth it, it was absolutely necessary. Because God wants us to fail. God will give us tasks that He knows that we can achieve. But it's through failing at those tasks that we learn lessons, and that allows us to succeed in the next task. Because God will not give us a task that we cannot bear. He will not give us anything that we can't bear. But He will give us reasons to fail. Because if you learn lessons from failures, there really is no failure. What I'm trying to say is that God, although He gives you nothing that you cannot achieve, sometimes the only way you can achieve it is through failure. And the only true failure is if you give up entirely. If you're going through a challenge, like imagine like I'm going to the gym, right? I go to the gym all the time. I love going to the gym, but I'm going to the gym. And then one day I decide I don't really want to go to the gym anymore. It's hard, it's tiring, I'm not making much progress. I'm really sick of going to the gym. And I slack off for a couple of days, maybe even a couple of weeks, and I start to lose my muscle mass. That is a failure. I gave up. I quit. But I learned a lesson. I learned that I can't quit the gym, otherwise I lose the progress that I've built. So then I start going to the gym again. I start working hard again. I start pushing myself harder and harder in the gym than I ever have before. I don't just regain the lost muscle, I double it. Then my failure is no longer a failure. Now my failure is a success. It's not a tragedy story. It's not a story of failure. It's a story of success. It's a success story. Because no good story, no one wants to read a story where everything goes right. You know, like those weird, like kind of chick flicks, whatever. I think of them as like mom shows, because it's shows my mom always watches. There's shows where everything just kind of goes right for the character. And they're usually just like a low budget, they're usually just a low budget company who made the movie, and it's not even a good movie. The only bad thing that ever happens in the movie is that maybe the wedding plan doesn't go exactly as planned, and there's some kind of drama because of that, or whatever. That's not an interesting story, especially, at least not to me. That's not an interesting story. I'm going to listen, if I'm going to read a story, or watch a movie, or whatever, I'm going to hear a story. I want the story to have something bad happen that allows the main character, the protagonist, to rise above it. Because nobody wants to hear... oh, allergy season. Because no one wants to hear a story where everything is perfect. So why do you want that for yourself? Right? Because your life, think about it. If your life is a story, your life's a book. And when your life is over, how was your book? How good was the book? Was your book really boring? Or where everything just went perfect? Because if everything goes perfect, you're not doing much. You're not trying very hard. If everything goes perfect, you're just perfectly content with exactly how your life is, and nothing will ever change for your entire life. You'll just be working the same job that pays minimum wage. You'll be working at like McDonald's or something for your entire life, and you'll just be perfectly content with it. You'll have no relationships. You'll have nothing. You'll just be sitting at home playing video games, and that will be your book. Because that's most people's book, and that is not a good book to read. That's really boring. But if there's a book where someone has a goal, and they're trying to achieve the goal, and then they fail at that goal, but they rise back up and they achieve the success that they wanted. And sometimes they're going to fail multiple times. Sometimes, like literally, you fail dozens and dozens and dozens of times in life. The truth is, I want that for you. I want that for you because it makes the story better. Some of this might just be completely going over people's heads, but trust me when I say failure is the best thing that can ever happen to you if you learn from it. If you don't learn from it and you just give up, failure is going to be your inevitable downfall. But if you're strong enough to rise above that failure, failure is the best thing that can ever happen to you. That's all I got for today. Don't have dreams, have goals, and stay wild, my friend.